Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Another episode of Unapologetically Strong on WOVU 95.9 FM. How you guys doing out there? This is Wellness Wednesday. And you know, if it's Wellness Wednesday, who do we have in the studio? We have the one, the only, Steph Kels.
Hi everyone.
Kels Lewis. Should I say it like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the maiden name is important, so.
It is.
Kelly forever.
It is.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for keep inviting me. I just love it. This is our thing.
Are we going to go through the superlatives? Like, you know.
I know.
The whole thing?
Yep.
No.
Always.
Okay. So, as usual, this is a Wellness Wednesday, and we're always going to look at it from a standpoint of how we are doing. And so, in doing how we doing and doing in the ways that we need to do, which makes absolutely no sense what I'm saying.
It's okay. It makes sense. Listen, but that speaks to our wellness. Even though we're therapists and we're on the radio, we still have our own wellness, right? So I got you. That's why we're here together. Don't worry.
We are perpetually on.
Yes,
all the time.
Even in the transitions, because then the people who love us expect us to be on in that capacity because they know how the best version of ourselves shows up. So, you know, we're here to talk about how well you are in all these aspects, right?
Yeah, I guess
okay?
Sometimes, and other times we just here just to have fun.
A lot of
the times we're here just to have fun.
I love it.
But we're not going to talk about a fun topic today.
No,
we're not going to talk about a fun topic today. This one is a serious topic. And why is it serious? Because we're going to talk a little bit about domestic violence.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about it in a different way. We're talking about it in a non-physical violence type way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But before we jump into that, how was your overall, mental health awareness month? How was that?
Oh, it was eye-opening.
Uh-huh.
It was reflective.
Mm-hmm.
It was progressive.
Mm-hmm. What does all that mean in English terms?
It means no sé. No.
Oh, wow.
See?
I need English.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So what was it? Okay, Mental Health Awareness Month was good to me, you know, lots of prayer, lots of reflection, you know what I mean? Lots of time spent in spaces that I probably would have avoided before, you know, to protect my peace. You know, just certain expectations being on the go.
Yeah.
So in Mental Health Awareness Month, it was interesting that I was on the go so much, and I had to be more in tune with my own mental health and my desire to, you know, feel balance and even kill, and how quickly I will go to my environment to make sure that feeling is there. And in Mental Health Awareness Month, I had to be aware that in the busyness of my blessings, right? I have to stay in tune with how I'm doing when I'm in motion. That I can't always just stop and pause physically, because that slows down what God is calling me to do in my blessing of busyness. So that was my personal Mental Health Awareness Month experience. I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
Very.
Did you get an opportunity to do much public speaking? Why do you look like that?
Because I'm trying to think if it was May or not. Public speaking. This is public speaking, so I did this.
Yeah.
I don't know if I did. I feel like public speaking is built into my role in my corporate job.
Yeah.
And I can't speak too much about that on the radio, but you know, I did get to train like 300 plus folks every week.
That's
and
good.
that all over the whole state of Ohio, and support and facilitate those trainings. I did actually. Thank you. I was shout out to Mentally Mangled. Shout out to Mentally Mangled and Eric's public speaking actually. So we both had that. Shout out to Mentally Mangled and Eric. And,
we did our thing though. We did our thing, right?
Yeah. And I went to another church actually. Shout out to Mount Sinai right around the corner here. And I was able to speak about trauma to their congregation online and YouTube and in person. And so that was amazing. I really appreciated the opportunities being provided in my connection with Mentally Mangled. So make sure y'all check them out, mentallymangled.com.
We are fortunate
Very.
A lot of times in our, what's the word I'm looking for? In our profession.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've said it over and over and over. We need to get outside of our actual offices,
Yeah.
and by coming outside of our offices, we allow ourselves to do more. So what's interesting is when I what's the word I'm looking for? When I went and did some public speaking in different venues, I saw a huge increase in the amount of calls to our practice for individuals seeking. So,
Amazing.
Right. So for all those individuals that are mental health providers, you got to get out of your office.
Yes, you do.
You just have to get out of your office, and by getting out of your office, you give the public the opportunity to do a lot more.
Yeah, you do.
And do a lot more connecting and a lot more all that. So get out of your office.
And you provide a level of comfortability. So,
Yeah.
I hope mental health professionals who are listening, folks are not coming to you all the time. They don't have the capacity.
Say it again.
Because they are trying to navigate life with untreated mental health.
Yes.
And as we are aware of our mental health and we're navigating it, and we are finding challenges in it with inflation, with crime, with all of the traumas that we experience globally, right? Everything we see. Imagine someone who literally is struggling in their mental health and seeking counseling. They don't even have time to call up your line and schedule
I was about
an
to say
appointment.
that.
Go get them. Go get them.
What do you think the main struggle is when it comes to expressing that point to people? That point is you need to come out of your office. You need to get out of your comfort zone. And by getting out of your comfort zone, you are allowing yourself to actually expand in a business as well as teach you. Teach you what you need and how you need to be. What do you think? What's your 2 cents on that?
I think that mental health professionals are not always grassroots.
What do you mean?
I believe that community outreach is has an origin of grassroots movements.
Right.
Being in the community, going to the people and walking them back to their help.
Right.
I believe that when we're trained to be clinicians, we are not always provided the education around grassroots movement, around outreach. We know it historically, but we're really trained theoretically, which means we're trained to think about theories and methods and treatment approaches to address a symptom, and we're symptom driven. Now, social workers who can also provide counseling, they typically are trained in grassroots because they are social workers. But then these agencies, are there. If it's the VA, if it's county, if it's court, if it's nonprofits, we're creating workers to funnel into those spaces. Because if we all branched off, then who would be there? So I think it takes a special intrinsic motivation, self-driven intentions to go out into the community to see what the community needs and provide it to them. So it basically, it ain't for everybody. They not us. All the, okay. And it's no dismissiveness to it. Everybody has their lane. It's not. Everybody has their lane. So
I do. Yeah. I don't think it's dismissive. I think sometimes it goes back to if you are doing this thing called, mental health correctly, you are coming out of your comfort zone, and you're also finding how, intrusive your own insecurities are in treating, certain people. There are so many times where I have to pull myself back from being, what's the word I'm looking for? Pull myself back from being the client while doing the actual thing, of counseling.
Yeah.
And it's really it's an interesting dance.
It's dimensional too,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, this is good. This is a good opening. And I hope people, I think the biggest thing is that sometimes we have to just give the people insight to who we are and what we do every day, that this is our life, this is our career, and it has so many different aspects to it, so many levels, if it's outreach, if it's grassroots, if it's camaraderie amongst our colleagues and trying to give back to them and get everyone on the same page about what the people need. Yeah. And it's not a straight line.
Yeah.
You and I have had so many waves in our career. It's not a straight line.
Yeah.
People aren't a straight line.
It's
so
not.
How could we on this roller coaster with you?
That's what I was about to say, because people are not a straight line, and because people are not a straight line, we cannot be. But we cannot be. We cannot be. That's selfish of us to be. So recently there was, other people may not know this, but you know this, that I attempt to do a lot of mentoring of new clinicians. And in doing mentoring of new clinicians, my goal is to produce not only competent, clinicians. So that's one. Secondly, the goal is to make more clinicians.
More like us.
Or more like us.
And not in a narcissistic, self-serving way, but like,
it's literally self-serving.
No, it's not. It's people not. Serving.
Yes.
It's people
You're doing
serving.
God's work. Shout out to Bree.
You are yeah.
So, but no, and so what's interesting, and the third is to produce more mental health clinicians who have the freedom to earn the amount of money that they desire. So recently, I had a discussion with, and I'm gonna say her name wrong. Believe it or not, she's a new therapist in the state of Ohio. She's been a therapist in Texas, and she just recently got her independent license.
Oh, okay.
So her name is Saquana. I believe Saquana, if I'm saying it properly. So she and I had some discussions, and she was, a bit, enamored that we had so many black males, right? So everybody's like, oh my God.
You got all of them.
Right, I got all of them.
Most of them.
We got all of them. So she was enamored by that, and, I had to have a real discussion with her. I said, in most cases, the reason why this is the case is because we're not seeing counseling as a viable engine for quote unquote heads of households. So
Eric, that's a whole Wednesday.
But no, for
July.
real.
First week of July.
First, is that, well, we're supposed to be talking about family, so there we go. We can bring this in.
Okay.
So, the issue is that, the way that counselors are paid and the industry by which we are paid, it's hard to convince somebody when they're in the bachelor's level that you can make a nice living in counseling.
Yes, you can.
And so
it's a retirement
right.
plan.
And so when I was talking with her, and she was like, well, why do you think there are not as many black males in the profession? And I said, well, there's a fair amount of black males in the profession, but there's a certain level, right? So we get the degree and we want to go up to management, and we want to go up to a higher administrative level, because that's where the job security is. And so when having job security, that's really where we can feel good in what we do. And, she said, okay, she said, and, what I stated is, black males just don't view the day-to-day grassroots counseling as a viable economic engine to head their household. If you are a single individual, fine. If you are an individual who possibly has a child and you're still living a single life, fine. But if you are, the head of household, want to send your kids to a quality school, want to get a quality education, and you are in a type of a relationship where there is an economic draw to everything, then there's a part of you that needs to find a career and a career path that pays you. Yes.
And it's so interesting that you mentioned it in a financial way.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, when I think of black male head of household, when it comes to the counseling world business, I think go to counseling. Black Man of Household, and it is Black Men's Mental Health Month.
Yeah.
And it's not demeaning when you say Black man go to counseling. It's saying go to a safe space in which you can unlock the king in you that has been muted and crushed by society's design, America's design to destroy you from the inside and out. So not only can you go into this field as a Black man and make dough, right, and impact millions, right, you can also benefit from it by being a client. By being a client, because once you unlock the power in you, Black man, you're born with, you literally can do anything. You can do anything. That's why you're so targeted, because of your power. So I just want to shout that out. And I know we're going to have to go to commercial, and we're not really talking about this today. Pay the bills. Eric, this is why come on, I'm almost losing my thought.
Come back.
Okay, it's coming. Okay, I'm there. Okay. So get the help you need, not because you're weak, not because it is a sign of weakness. Get it because you're powerful, and your power is being diminished on purpose so that you cannot conquer. Go to counseling so you can conquer and live out your birthright as a king.
All the fun.
And that's my 1-2.
I mean, let's be real. You hijacked the whole thing. Because I was talking finances, you talking.
Because it's both. I didn't hijack it. I think there's two things that really,
you're right.
solidify
right.
men, how we see men, right? And that's your stability mentally and financially. So 2 birds with 1 stone.
2 birds with 1 stone.
I wasn't hijacking. I was adding to it, elevating it,
Well, you're good people. If I'm gonna have anybody hijack, it's gonna be you. No, we do.
You're right.
We do got to take a quick break. We're gonna come back, and we're gonna talk about non-physical domestic violence, which is something that came up while counseling two of the men. One is Black and one was white. It came up during session, and I'm like, ooh, that's domestic violence. But they was like, no, and I was like, yes. But anyway, we're going to take a quick break. This is Unapologetically Strong on WOVU 95.9 FM.
It came up, yeah.
So the way that it came up is that I had a client, and this client was struggling with some issues related to trust.
Okay.
And along the way, what we found is that this individual, who they're connected with, has some trust issues, and is coming this way. He's coming forward. And just so happened that the type of domestic violence that he was dealing with, he pretty much saw it as a rites of passage because of the things that he did. So in other words, the penance. Okay. So he saw it as a penance of what he did.
Yeah.
And so when we were talking, I really, asked him, like, how do you feel about that? And what he stated was, I feel anxiety. I feel a reliving, right? So we went what the symptoms that he actually had. And for those, that want to know, go look up the DSM version of PTSD.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Right.
He has PTSD.
So he was suffering from PTSD. And I was like, okay, so, what you're experiencing is similar to what individuals experience who are suffering from PTSD.
Yeah.
And what he stated was, well, how was that possible? There was no violence, but there was trauma.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go through a list, of different types of non-physical violent, what's the word I'm looking for?
Non-physical domestic violence.
Right, domestic violence. So number 1, isolating a person from their friends, family, and colleagues. Number 2, stalking their movements or controlling how they spend their time. Number 3, social media accounts or tracking their mobile phones. And I'm going to stop at number 4, but we have more, but I'm just going to stop there.
Yeah.
And the 4th one is making unrealistic demands. Now, the person that I had the tracking of the phone because of a perceived indiscretion.
Yeah.
It wasn't
perceived or previous.
No, perceived.
Okay.
No, it was perceived. It was a perceived indiscretion because of how things went down.
Yeah. Okay.
And so the more and more we spoke, that was the one that, that we had or that came up, and his reliving and things that he, suffered from. So based off of the top four, that isolating from friends and family, that happens a lot. Yeah. There's an incident by which an individual has, friends, and this is just in a coupleship. This isn't about, male. This is not about woman. This is just about coupleships to where
either partner,
to where you can't, when we get together, you need to let them people go.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that one? Because that has to come up in counseling.
Oh my gosh, it comes up a lot. I actually have a couple right now, and we're dealing with something similar, where one partner is not really fond of the other partner's, village, essentially. Right. And there are expectations and demands. Yeah, there are expectations and demands, and we're working through it and to explore on both ends. Where is this coming from? The root of this, and how it serves each of you. Right. And this being an elephant in your relationship in your household. My thoughts on it clinically, I believe, and what I have noticed and what I have studied is that people struggle with dealing with their fears around being abandoned, neglected, or betrayed. So in isolating your partner from their family and friends, oftentimes, it could be due to your own fear of abandonment, neglect, or betrayal. So in order to manage yourself and your own anxieties around those three areas, abandonment, neglected, or betrayed, you set standards to control your partner's environment, to control their relationships. So I do believe that anytime you are subconsciously or consciously, being aware or unaware of having this standard for your partner, it's important to look within and see what are your anxieties about neglect, abandonment, and betrayal.
Do you think, so going to the one specific, and so the other guy that I had, I'll go to him in a minute because he's in the latter parts. But the monitoring of social media, which is really big. So the concept of sliding into DMs, or the concept of connecting via that. And once again, this is not a gender specific. The partner monitoring their partner's it's not,
social media? Because
what this individual felt is though he had to surrender everything because of this individual's perceived, I'm going to keep saying that, perceived struggle with something that started on social media.
Oh, okay.
So that was the thing to where it's just like, okay, you need to surrender everything, your passwords and whatnot and all that. Yeah.
So basically trust was, just for the people.
Right.
Can I recap? Can I just
recap.
Okay. So basically you have a client who is expressing to you that his partner requires access to social media because there was a slide in the DM situation that made that partner uncomfortable and broke trust. So to manage whatever they need to manage, trust, etc., they have expectations around, access to each other's personal.
Yeah.
Is it both ways?
It's not both ways because the individual does not choose to have it both ways.
Okay, got it. Okay, the individual, the man who...
Right.
Okay, so got it. So somebody slid in a DM, but nothing happened? There was no cheating?
Right.
Okay.
And
all right.
The overall struggle is more that this individual, just to, bring it back, this individual didn't see it as not, domestic violence.
Of course
Although not. He was having the symptoms that if, he lived in a physically violent household, would be there. And so this individual would automatically, because of one, the trauma is there, which is the violence, the physical violence.
That he grew up in.
Well, no, that if this person's partner was hitting the opposite partner or the second partner, this would be viewed as textbook domestic violence,
Yes.
and his symptoms would be associated with PTSD.
Yes, if
And
it was
so-
physical, because
right.
it's easier to see that.
Right. And convincing this individual that, because once again, a lot of working with men, I'm convincing them that they have a struggle, or working with them so that they can see that they have a struggle. This individual just did not connect that his symptoms and the trauma of the hypervigilance of always having to make sure that his passwords are up to date, that his DMs are not, he's not putting something out. That, that caused him a lot of emotional distress, but he didn't see it as domestic violence.
And why was it emotional distress for him?
Because
what did
because
he think would happen? What would happen? What
Well,
was on the line?
This
if
is
he didn't?
this is the other part. The struggle is the repercussions.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Right, and dealing with and having to explain and having to reassure and having, right, because that's what happens in a domestic violence situation, any type of situation.
Yeah.
The one that is being victimized have to convince the one that is the victimizer that what they are, experiencing may not be reality.
Yeah.
And that's the key.
Yeah, that is.
And
but okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Realities, right? Realities. So you said that, the girlfriend who has this expectation around access.
Let's just go with partner. Got you.
Okay, the partner has expectation around social media access, right? Is making the male, the person who has to be monitored, see in a different reality, right? See in a different reality.
Yeah.
Bringing the partner into the reality of for fear. This is how you reassure me. And if you don't reassure me in this way, then our relationship can be compromised.
Yep.
So I want to be firm in saying both of those realities are true. Both of those realities are true. And this is why counseling for couples is so important, right? It's so important because that person who has those standards around the social media and all that is also navigating their own anxiety around neglect, abandonment, and betrayal.
Which is not his responsibility.
Which is not his responsibility. Right. But as a relationship, the relationship has to be managed.
Right.
And in order to manage the relationship, both of their anxieties have to be treated. And that's why it's so hard when one client comes with that perception, because the whole relationship is on the line. So you have two people who have trauma in their own realities trying to force each other into one another's realities. And couple counseling really would gel that in. Now, I do think it's important. It's not to minimize individual, but that's the opportunity there.
This the issue. It wasn't there prior to the incident. And that's where it's trauma.
His anxiety and the partner's anxiety?
Right. It wasn't there prior. So this is where individuals need to actually see how this thing works.
Yes.
A trauma is everything was fine.
Yeah.
An incident happens. Once that incident happens, life is different.
Yes.
And so this is the key part, and this is why he didn't see that this was a form of domestic violence, because it wasn't like this beforehand. Yeah. And to go back to what you were saying, he signed up to be with this person, which means he signed up for her reality as well.
Yes.
By signing up for her reality as well, his thought process was, all this, I just got to do enough to make them feel better.
No, but that's trauma.
But wait, hold on. But wait. I have to do enough to make her feel better. And by doing enough to make her feel better, then it goes back to the way it was before.
And that's
not true.
This is trauma
and
bonding.
This is where I was like, you know what? We might need to talk a little bit more about this, because what you're experiencing is trauma and your response to it is PTSD. And it is also the subcategory of domestic violence, because you feel as though you need, in order for the relationship to continue, one of the caveats is you have to surrender all privacy.
Yeah. Which is controlling. And so this is why this is why it's so important for us to pay attention to these incidents. What you described was an incident that happened in the sliding of the DM, and see how the incident changes the vibration of the relationship, changes the realities that you all once shared, and impacts both parties. Impacts both parties, because if you do not, and you just try to serve each other from that brokenness, you are trauma bonding, and the non-violent domestic violence is minimized and overlooked because you're just focused on the bonding and the trauma. So he can't see it.
Yeah, and I don't think he can see it either. We're not gonna break for a commercial break. So we'll get an extra one somewhere. We're gonna.
Oh,
I'm gonna take the lashes for this one, but for real. The other one that so let's go through 4 more. So taking control over aspects of a person's life, such as where they go, who they can see, what they wear, and when they can sleep, depriving them access to support services such as healthcare, right? Next one is repeatedly putting them down, telling them they are worthless. And then I'm going to just throw in one more, is taking control of a person's finances, giving them an allowance, or forcing them to take on debt. That was the one that the other guy had.
Financial abuse.
So when we're looking at abuse, we're looking at physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse, and now we have social abuse. And sexual abuse, correct. So these are all, when we're looking at abuse, because far too often we look at domestic violence solely as physical abuse. Yeah. When it is so much more.
Yeah, because it's just any kind of violence that's domestic.
Yes.
And it can be like it's, and I think it was defined first as physical or sexual, right? And as we understand the impact that our relationships have on our psychological well-being, we have to elevate all of those forms of domestic violence.
From that next 5, we do have 3 more or 4 more, but from that, first of all, what are your thoughts about it? Because I know I shared this with you last week, but what was your thoughts about it?
I was looking at that list and I thought, wow, I've been in these kind of situations before.
Me too.
And I definitely thought, as a clinician, I just needed to figure out how to survive it. Yeah. And I've been trauma bonded before, and I have been a licensed therapist in a trauma bond. Whoa, right? Like that is something, right? I also thought, wow, I'm doing a really good job with the couples that I have, and why I elevate some of these covered, hidden incidents that they have, why I elevate and educate them around them in order to prevent further domestic violence, right? Yeah. And I'm doing quotes because I want to make sure people know it's not physical. It's like, we aren't seeing it as domestic violence, and it is, but I see it a lot. I also see how it is normalized and promoted in social media, in entertainment.
Yes.
Come on. Is it not?
It is.
How many rap songs promote this sometimes?
Not only that, because if we go back to, so if we look at the allowance, we look at the repeated demands. Yeah. So prior to, Puffy actually putting his hands on someone.
How I was talking about Puffy?
Yeah.
Because I was. Yeah. And you're right.
Prior to Puffy actually putting his hands on Cassie or anybody else he's been in a relationship with, there are definite reports of demands that were actually made. You need to do this. You need to do this.
In order to get this.
Right. You need to let go of these family members. You need to do, you need to do a lot of this, a lot of A, B, and C in order for us to continue to be together. And so that is the issue. That's the problem.
And I think people don't realize, just like you have certain gateway drugs, they say, gateway drugs.
Yeah.
That first emotional, verbal incidents of abuse are really a gateway to something more severe, because what you're teaching someone when you don't set boundaries, when you are getting that first incident of abuse, you're giving them permission to interact with you that way.
Yeah. A boundary is not asking someone if they can stop doing something. A boundary is literally when telling them when they do something, this will happen.
And don't do it.
And don't do it.
Just don't do it.
Yeah. You all right over there? My daughter's in here with us. She looks so bored.
She's like, this is the worst show. Like, oh my gosh, what a Debbie Downer. But seriously, Eric, I believe that we have to be very careful to minimize.
Who's we?
We as a people.
Okay.
We as people, we as lovers, we as clinicians, we as folks trying to break generational trauma, right?
Yep.
We as anybody who cares about wellness, all areas of wellness, we must monitor the toxicity, which we talked about before, the toxicity of interactions in order to determine if they're abusive, right? If they're abusive or not. Yeah. Because we're really calling everything you listed as nonviolent domestic violence as toxic, right? So I love that these shows were like back-to-back months. Yeah. But then we'll just be like, oh, they're just toxic. Oh, they're just toxic. No,
that's abuse.
This is abuse. And abuse is harmful, and it rewires your brain hormonally.
Yep.
And how you think. And even that person who is doing those things to you has a rewiring that has happened in their brain as well. Yeah. And you all connecting from that place is a trauma bond, which then perpetuates how love is defined, how safety is defined, how trust is defined.
Yeah. Let's do this. Let's look at it from
go on and on.
Yeah, because this is the other part. Far too often we hear about the desire to find a type of male or a type of partner that can do A, B, and C for you. So
I don't know why I giggle at that. I just know you. I know where we're going.
Can do A, B, and C for you, which means that, I want somebody that can, get my nails done for me and this and that, which, a lot of times, and I'm glad I got my daughter here, a lot of times you are literally opening yourself up for a victimizer, because what you're literally saying is, in order for us to be together or you to have access to me, you got to do these things. And you find someone that are perfectly willing to do those things. This is the caveat. If I'm going to do those things, you can't go nowhere without me telling you where to go. You can't dress the way that I want, that you want to dress. You can't talk to the people. Your social media got to come through me. We see too often about this concept of you got to go get the bag. I hate that song. I don't
even know. Was it a song?
No, there's a song. You can't touch my bag, and I hate that song.
Oof. I mostly listen to gospel these days. I got you. It's terrible out there.
But this concept that, the best partner needs to supply me with something, and I'm going to supply access to sexual favors and the way that I look. And you're signing up to say, you are possibly opening yourself up for domestic violence. Yeah. Control.
Yeah. And you're also just putting contingencies on love. And anytime you put contingencies on love and relationship and connection, that means you're prioritizing those contingencies over your authentic bond, your connection, and your ability, your compatibility. And so we do set ourselves up not even to just be victimized, but to quantify love.
Quantify love in a way that provides the opportunity for somebody else to victimize you.
Yes.
And that's what we're doing. So I'm not sure what to do with this or how to do things, but I don't like it.
Well, I think one, you gotta sort through your bias too.
I'm very biased.
You gotta sort through your bias because the reality is, we need like a stand.
Did you? Well, no, just
no. I just want to record it. Okay, we want to record. I like recording this. I don't know how I want to sit. Okay, let's get off of here.
Right, we right. Let's take it.
But bottom line, let's just do a bottom line. Can I?
Line. Yeah, because we do got to take a break.
Yeah, we got to take a break.
We're gonna do 2 back to back this time. But go ahead.
Point 1.
Yeah.
non-violent domestic violence is still domestic violence.
Exactly.
Number 2, toxicity is most likely non-violent domestic violence. Number 3, us clinicians are so passionate about this because this is so embedded in our love and in our people and in our Black people and how we were taught to love that we have a sense of urgency and angst to try to stop it, right? Number 4, we, as in me and Eric and any other clinician, has to filter through our biases based on our own experiences that we've witnessed or had ourselves when we are addressing these kind of concerns in session, because we can that can interfere with the wellness of the other person. So 100%. Clinicians, when we're talking about it passionately, understand that me and Eric go through so many levels in order to be able to get in front of someone in session and not present as passionate and have so much angst about it. We have to check ourselves too, because it's a sensitive situation on both sides. The person who is doing the nonviolent act and the person who is experiencing it. Both of them are struggling. Let's
take back-to-back breaks. That way we can stay in compliance. Then we're going to come back and wrap this list up and get to some solutions that are not just simply doing counseling. So we're going to take a quick break. This is WOVU 95.9 FM. We got the daughter that wants to jump on. Hold on, I'll let you jump on in a minute.
I love her.
So let's wrap it up. Let's land the ship. So the last couple non-physical domestic violences: taking food away or limiting food, making threats or using intimidation to force change in behavior or choices, including sex.
Withholding sex could be a whole show.
Right, withholding sex, which happens frequently. Demanding damage to property, such as destruction of household goods, valuables, personal items, and lastly, preventing them from having access to transport or from working. So telling you can't work. Yeah.
It's tough. You know, I want to preface by saying we need to be very careful with these with our interpretation of this list, right? So withholding sex, I just want to highlight that one for a second.
Why?
So withholding sex versus not being in a space to have sex because of the trauma that you all share are two different things. Two different things. So just want to say that. I don't want anyone running home and be like, see, Stephanie and Eric, 2 counselors said you withholding sex. That means you domestic violence in me. You know how people always make something a verb? What? You know how people make stuff a verb. You know that. And that's not what we're saying.
That is not what we're saying.
Don't try it.
You can try it, but it ain't going to work. You're going to be part of the problem.
Yeah. So, and basically, I think that self-assessment about why you're having these requests from your partner is so important. How does it serve you to withhold sex, right? How does it, as a punishment, how does it serve you to control when someone works or does not work? And are these values that you're moving from, that were the foundation of your relationship, or are they driven by a desire to control, punish, right? Make a statement?
What if all of them are yes?
Then Psychology Today, Stephanie Lewis, you could search me up. I'm definitely accepting couples and multiple insurances. Eric says he's not seeing couples. Eric is also good with couples too. So try to get through his intake line. I don't know. If not, I am taking you all virtually. I love it. You just got to go to therapy. Sometimes in the middle of that argument, or when you've had enough and you're tired of someone searching you on their maps because they have your location, and it's not because of a safety concern, and it's not from the foundation, the foundational principles of your relationship, just be like, babe, I think we're struggling with a couple things. I signed us up for therapy. That's all you got to do. I want to give that realistic resource and skill for you all, that we got to stop thinking that we can handle so many things without help, or we can handle so many things without training and education. You need spirituality, wisdom, and training. You have to have it. So when we're talking about relationships and the psychological impact of nonviolent domestic violence, you need to just say, hey, you probably should go to therapy. You all should probably go to counseling and work through this. Because I'm worried about you both. And let the counselor help you navigate that.
one of the things before we jump off is just this call to action. And I like the way that you put it. First of all, relationships are difficult. Whether it's a romantic relationship, a child-parent relationship, relationships are difficult. And because relationships are difficult, there's a lot of things that we allow to happen in relationships. We allow certain levels of violence. We allow certain levels of discourse. We allow quite a bit of things because relationships are hard. Never should a relationship be damaging to your physical personhood. Things that you own, right? This is not, that's not about the hard part of being in a relationship, which is difficult. That's about being in a dangerous relationship. And so there's a difference.
Danger can be psychological.
Yeah.
I want to keep emphasizing that. We are not always speaking about physical danger.
Right.
Nonviolent domestic violence is psychological danger. How does this impact your mental wellness?
Right.
Yes.
And it's even, yes. So relationships are hard, are difficult. All forms of relationships are hard and difficult. The issue is the relationship should not be dangerous. And when we say dangerous, we think about all the forms of abuse: physical, sexual, mental, emotional, financial, and social.
Yes.
All those are dangerous because if we isolate someone, which is at times viewed as social, we are cutting them off from an ability for them to be a part of them that is very important.
Yeah.
So let's wrap it up in a caveat.
Okay.
Because we got about 7 more minutes.
We need another hour. No.
We do. I already, skipped out on a break, but I don't think that everyone, I think there are an and instead of an or.
Yes.
As it relates to, first thing first, go to therapy.
Go to therapy.
So that's the first thing.
Go to therapy and stay in therapy.
And secondly, follow your internal intuition. So everyone has a soul, and that soul, no matter how you view it, speaks to you.
Yes.
Now, yes, let's be perfectly candid. How loud that soul speaks to you has to do a lot about your ability to listen. So,
true self.
Right. And each individual has an intuition. Follow that intuition. Follow that thing that says, this is not healthy for me and I need to leave. Yeah. Follow that because that is something that will help you. If you have kids, will help your kids and will help your grandkids if you have kids. So 1, go to therapy. 2, follow that intuition. Mm-hmm. And thirdly, participate in activities that allow you to hear the truth about situations. So whether we're talking about friendships, whether we're talking about clubs, whether we're talking about places where you first can find the comfort to take off your mask, and in taking off your mask, invite other individuals to allow you to be mentored, molded, and directed. So those are my 3 things.
I love those 3 things.
Yeah.
So it's so much. 1, I want to elevate the national domestic violence hotline. So I don't have that number memorized, but I looked it up. And I say that because when you call them and you're curious about domestic violence or you feel that angst in your relationship, they can still link you so that you can further explore and assess. You do not have to reach out for help when you already know what you need.
Right.
You can reach out for help because you don't know what's going on and you have this emotional response that you cannot shake. So make sure you're calling National Domestic Violence Hotline. So that's 1-800-799-7233.
Okay.
So I want to elevate that. The second thing is, I agree with you, Eric, therapy.
Yes.
Therapy. Okay. So, and I think I say this every time I come on the show. You have a primary care physician. Yep. You have a dentist. Women have an OB, right? You have these medical folks and you need professionals in your life. Therapy needs to be a part of that team. Yeah. primary care physician, therapist, so that when you have things that are impacting your psychological well-being, your mind, you call your therapist. Hey, I think I need a session. Me and, my man, we're struggling with this and this. We just need to come in. Normalize that and just go to therapy and sort it out there and take that pressure off you two at home trying to define it. So therapy. Keep that a part of your lifestyle. Lastly, pray. I am a Christian woman. I believe in the Christian principles, and I believe that when you have prayer in your life constantly, then you have the covering of the Holy Spirit to be able to navigate your relationship. And so putting God at the head of that household and submitting to a man who submits to God, right? Or be the man that submits to God when you see that your woman is having some difficulties or you feel like she's controlling you. Seek counsel and pray. Allow the Holy Spirit to move through your relationship, and also go back to that pastor who married you. Go back to the premarital counseling situation and what that stood for you. Right. So those would be my 3. 1, the National Domestic Violence Hotline, and you all can Google it as well. 2, make therapy a natural part of your lifestyle and your relationship. And 3, take it to God, and not in that order of priority. That's 1 would be God.
Let's go. I'm gonna run through the list real quick because we got about 2 minutes left. So isolation from their friends, stalking, monitoring social media, making unreasonable demands, taking control over aspects of their life, depriving them from access to services, repeatedly putting them down, taking control of a person's finances, taking food away or limiting food, and making threats or using intimidation, damaging property, and preventing them from having access to transport. So those are all, and there are so many more. So to put a bow on it, there are so many more, so many other forms of abuse and other forms of stuff. I mean, sexual abuse, but in a way that is, let's see. Yeah, maybe not.
Not right
That's
now.
That's a different one.
But the bottom line is, go to therapy and sort it out. We're going to give you these foundational, pieces of something that is so big and intricate and brings up so many different parts of our humanity. But the bottom line, every show, Eric, is go to therapy. Let's wrap.
We got to wrap. We got to go. Go to therapy.
No.
So this is, let's see, we're going to head out and then we'll be back. You'll be back next month. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about family, a little bit more specific because July is going to be family month. So I'll catch you next round. This is Unapologetically Strong on WOVU 95.9 FM. Peace.